Hi, everybody, and happy Friday, and welcome to Signature West Podcast. I'm your host, Sam West from Palm Springs, California. Today, we're going to talk about the cost of waiting for interest rates to come down. The cost of waiting for interest rates to come down. I'm not going to tell you don't wait. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just here to give you the different perspective, waiting versus not waiting. So happy Friday. It's Friday, July the 10th. The one thing I want to be very clear on, that there is no lender out there. There's no real estate agent expert. There's no financial advisor. There's no politician out there that can tell you, oh, they're going to lower the rate in 3 months. They're going to lower the rate in the third quarter. They're going to lower, they can tell you, but it's all noise. It's all noise. And I've learned that in my first year in 1991. It was election year. I'm not sure who was being elected. And I remember as I'm trying to learn and navigate, there, agents are going around and the manager, yeah, they're going to lower the rate, by November. So I'm just, okay, that's a thing. November election, interest rate before they lower it. We're going to have a great quarter. Not true. It's not true. And I've learned over the years that people that do that is just sort of like holding on for this hope, whatever, people hope for tomorrow's going to be, the perfect weather. Tomorrow's going to be, we're going to win the lot, whatever it is, that's what they're hoping for. And it became a practice. It became a narrative. It became a conversation all the way now to 2026. We're still doing it. But just so you know, no one has that crystal ball to tell you that. So the only person that knows if the rates will change is the person that's doing it. And he or she probably will not know like a week prior to whenever that they meet and they announce. So no one else does. Let's just get that started, okay? So let's talk about real examples and what are the pros and the cons, and what can happen when you gamble by waiting, okay? Especially when you believe the interest rate is high, when in reality it's not that high, but in your world you believe it's high because that's all you've seen, that's all you know. In my case, I've seen it at 12%, I've seen it at 7%, I've seen it at 3%, I've seen it now 6%. So I'm kind of used to it, and it's totally okay. So we're not going to even talk about if you're an active buyer. That active buyer is an active buyer. He's serious. He knows the deal. But let's just assume that you were, I don't know, window shopping one day, and you, walking around and you saw an open house, and you walked in the open house. Oh my God, I love this house. I can see myself living here. And you talk to your partner, your wife, your husband, and you said to bring him, and you said, we can live here. We love this house. We weren't even looking, but we love the house. And then you go do your homework, and you go to talk to a lender, and they get you pre-approved, and you get your insurance in place that's required. You get your employment is verified. If you're self-employed, if you're not self-employed, it's all being verified. Your tax returns are in place. Everything checks out, right? And whatever interest rate at that time that you got on. And then you start telling everybody, your dad or your other person, your neighbor, I'm going to buy this house. And they say to you, wait a minute. Interest rates is going to come down. We don't know when it will come down. You should wait. And then you say, okay, I'll wait. And you cancel the transaction. Fine. Nobody's hurt. By waiting, whenever that is, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever that is, that's going to be your decision to wait. I don't know. Know that these are the factors that you're risking, okay? They're very obvious. That house might be gone. No big deal. Another house will come up. Insurance might not be available anymore in that area. I mean, in California and LA and Palm Springs, things change. County change. Insurance companies change coverages, as you all know. So that might be a struggle to get your insurance. Your employment might change. You might, your company might fold. They might, God forbid, you lost your job. A war can take place, and your stock value, your IRA can go down. You no longer have what you had 6 months ago. It's all a risk, and it's your decision to make that risk. Now, let's say interest rates went down. Okay? Let's talk about real numbers. Real numbers. I'll give you an example. So, give me 1 second here. So, you waited. And interest rate, the beginning when you were looking, interest rates were at 6%. Okay? And you said, oh my God, that's just way too high. I can't fathom paying that much. It was 3% 3 years ago. I'm not paying 6%. And you said, I'm going to wait. But when you got pre-approved, let's say your loan was $500,000. Your loan was $500,000. So your loan was $500,000 at 6% interest rate. Your principal and interest payment monthly is going to be $29.98 a month. $2,998 a month. Okay. So you wait, and then interest rate becomes 4.5%. My God, that's a 1.5 less. Look at you, right? You waited. On the same loan amount, let's say market is doing decent, the house went up $50,000. I can't imagine the house is still the same value. It's either went down or went up. If it went down, more power to you. If it went up, let's say it went up $50,000, which is not much. It went up $50,000. $50,000, that's, now it's $550. Your loan is $550. I'm doing rough math. The house went up, but your loan now is $550. Whether you put in 10% down, 80% down, and whatever the house went up to, but now your loan is $550. You're borrowing $550 instead of $500. At 4.5%, your payments are, 1 second, boom, 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 $2,786. $2,786. So a year ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was $2,998, and now it's $2,786. So it's less, a couple $100, $300. But you're borrowing, you have to put up $50,000 more. You're borrowing more, and you're putting up more down payment. Don't forget, because the house went up in value. So if you're putting 10% down, you're putting 10% down of the lower price six months ago, not a year ago. Now you're putting 20% down of the higher price. So that's a little bit, money up front. Plus you're borrowing $50,000 more on your loan. So you're paying less a month, but you're borrowing more money. Which it might not be such a bad deal. But now you find out insurance is not available anymore in that county or in that state. State Farm is no longer doing it. I know there was a fire and they're no longer doing insurance. Can't get the house. And if you can find insurance, it's probably going to cost you double what you had before when you were looking for the house in the first place. Because now it's like maybe a special program with the state, and that's all you got. Because without insurance, you won't be getting a loan on the house unless you're paying cash, and that's still pretty gambling if you don't have insurance. Probably the insurance is one of the biggest risks if it's not available. I'm trying to think what else. We talked about it earlier. If your employment changed, if inventory changed, maybe there's less inventory now for whatever reason. There was more inventory when you were looking. There's less inventory now, and maybe less inventory in your price point. There might be an abundance in inventory. Like right now, for example, I'm in the Palm Springs area. I have been doing this since 1991. We have an abundance of inventory. Like if you look in that $600,000 range, depending what area, Palm Springs or the Coachella Valley, there's a lot to look at. But if you look at LA, they're still tight. So depending where you are. So let's say you're in an area where inventory is tight, became tight. So great, interest rate went down. You're able to, bring down your payment like we just talked about earlier. But the pool of inventory to look at is not so much as it was when you were 6 months or a year ago. So there's a lot of unknowns here. A lot of unknowns here that it might not work to your advantage. And it's a gamble, but life is a gamble. We gamble every day by getting up and getting in the car and driving and hoping that nobody would, come down the road and boom. But that's a gamble that we all got to take every day. But must you take a gamble in waiting an interest rate that maybe it will come down 1.5%, maybe it will come down 1%, maybe it won't come down at all, maybe it'll go up? Look at where we are now. Who would have thought a year ago now we're paying X amount of dollars for gas or the food? Did we all know that? So if you were gonna, let's say you waited 6 months ago before all this fiasco that we're going through now, and the inflation and the cost of living, and you waited, and now you're ready, but just realized that everything else your budget, everything else you're paying for went more. Beside this kids' school tuition, beside the, no, your gas went up, your food went up, your this went up. So it changed everything. And now you can't secure what you were able to secure 6-8 months ago. So again, ultimately, it's your decision to make. Ultimately, it's your comfort zone that you want to be in. But we're humans and we're driven by fear factors, just how we're made. And I've seen this throughout the years. And we're also driven by, if they're doing it, then I will do the same. Because if I don't do it, then I look like a loser. If they're all waiting and I'm going to go ahead and buy now, I'm going to look like the loser in the end because I didn't wait. Just the same thing, like I said, probably a few podcasts ago, when the market was crazy, everybody's buying. I got to buy too because I'm going to look like a loser. So I got to buy anywhere, whether I can afford it or not. I got to buy because my neighbor bought. I got to buy because my sister bought. I got to buy because they're all buying. Why can I not buy? And it's a frenzy market. We do the same thing in the other spectrum. They're all waiting. I got to wait too. I want to be like them. I don't want to be the crazy person, jumping off the fence and they're looking at me like I'm a crazy person. Either way is not healthy. Either way, it's not healthy. So I hope that you found this story helpful. If you're looking for a home, if you can if you're contemplating about waiting versus not waiting, I say this all the time, and I really mean this. And I've said this probably, 15, 20 years ago, and I say the same thing now. If the payment makes sense to you, if you can afford the payment, whether it's a 10% interest rate, whether it's a 3% interest rate, you know what you can afford. And for you, it might not, break the bank. Whatever the payment is, if you can afford it and you found the home that you love, then do it. But don't do it because interest rates are down now, or don't do it because, your neighbor bought and you want to be like your neighbor, or your big brother bought, or your younger brother bought and you want to be like your brother. Don't do it for that reason. Do it because it fits your needs and wants in your budget, regardless what the interest rate is. Because what you might make, I'm not making, what I'm making is not you're making. So it's a different perspective. It's a different budget. It's a different responsibility. You might have 4 kids to feed. I have no kids to feed. So it's a little different for me. Are you following me? So you can't, it's not one size fits all story. And the fact that we're being told this by the media and by the people out there, hey, the third quarter of 2026 is they're gonna do this. So you all wait. Who said? Who said? You know? Even the weather, when they predict the weather and they tell you the news tomorrow, it's gonna rain, and oops, it doesn't rain, it's sunshine. The rain went the other way. So that's all I have to say on this delicious Friday morning. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you can dissect it. And if you have any questions, please reach out. And on that note, if you feel free to subscribe, it gets my channel going, and it's no cost to you at all. And I will see you next week. All right. Take care, everybody, and have a great, great rest of your week.